Co-host.
Okay.
All right.
Hi, Beck.
If you can do co-host, because that means you'll be able to keep admitting people while I'm talking.
I'll try. No, I can't now.
Maybe I need to make you co-host.
You do, yeah. This is a well-oiled machine here.
I've only got make host, so that's all right. I'll multitask it. All right, welcome everyone. We're just going to wait maybe one more minute and let a few more people arrive, because we need to make sure as many people are with us for this as possible. So just bear with us for a minute.
Al, Francine just said you can get rid of the waiting room so people can just come in.
Okay, how do I do that?
What? Press security.
Yep.
5 down from the top. About rough.
I might just try disabling the waiting room. Hopefully that's worked.
Yeah.
Penny, do you know how many people we're expecting?
No, not exactly, but I think just about everyone's here from what I can tell.
Okay. I'm mindful of everybody's time, so I might just get started. So I'm going to share my screen, but just first of all, just want to say a really big thank you to everybody for being here and for helping us get this important demonstration of support off the ground together. My name's Alison Francis Cracknell, by the way. I'm a local Peninsula person, healthcare professional background, and part of the bigger organising group, but we'll do some intros in a minute, and I'll just start by sharing my screen. Can everyone see that okay? Yep. Okay. And maybe if you can just stay on mute while we're presenting. I know you guys will have questions, so feel free to use the chat, and hopefully one of the other team members will keep responding to the chat. So even
Alison?
Yep.
Can we do an acknowledgement?
Yep, I'm getting to that. Thank you.
God love you.
Yeah, don't worry, it's all coming. All right, yeah, let's just go through the slides. That might be better. So this is a really important discussion, okay? We need you guys to really pay attention to this. And if you know volunteers who haven't been able to make it today, that make sure that they look at the presentation, okay, before tomorrow. All right, yes, thanks, Miffy. So before we get any further into it, I want to give an acknowledgement of country and pay respect and acknowledge the traditional owners of the Mornington Peninsula area, the Bunurong people of the Boon Wurrung language group of the Kulin Nation, and pay respect to their elders past and present. And we also extend that acknowledgement to any other Aboriginal and or Torres Strait Islander people here with us today. I just want to let you know that the wording that I'm using here with my acknowledgement, I've gone through a process of checking that. So I've checked in with the way Willem Moraine and Ma Jambana use their wording, but I've also had a conversation with the leadership of the Aboriginal leadership of the Yes campaign in our area. So if you're looking for some wording on the day tomorrow, if that comes up for you, then that's the wording that I'm using, and that's why. So today we're going to talk to you about some quick introductions of the organising crew, who are the key contacts. We're going to outline the walk in a bit more detail so everybody knows what's going on where. Go through a walk map. We're going to talk you through the gathering at the start, the middle and the gathering at the end. We're going to be forming a human yes at the gathering, so we'll talk to you about that. We want to touch on volunteer safety and wellbeing, some resources, code of conduct, and some key points along the way. And then this briefing has been put together on the run, so some of that might not be exactly the order that we're going to talk about these things, but anyway, we'll see how we go. And if there's anything we've missed that you feel like you need information about, can you just put it in the chat and we'll get you the answers that you need. Okay, so first of all, the walk organising group, just to maybe give you a little bit of context. So this idea came up around a kitchen table conversation with myself and Penny Flint and Maddie Machin, who are all online with us today. And ridiculously, we thought we'd start by planning a walk from Uluru back to the Mornington Peninsula, which some of you might have heard that's how this idea started. But obviously, we've scaled that right down to something much more realistic and much more local. But before we went any further with that idea, and I'm deliberately telling you about the process that we're working through with this walk because it's important. We knew that we needed to not just run off with it and get it going. We knew we needed to check in with the local Yes campaign, and in particular the Aboriginal leadership of the Yes campaign, to see, you know, whether this is something that fits with the goals and ideals of what they would like to see happen. And so once we've had that conversation and we got the endorsement from the people we needed to get that from, then we've proceeded with organising it. And so that's why we're here today. So very much acknowledging the leadership there and the guidance that's being provided in that space. Maddie and Penny, do you want to just do a quick hello? And Lisa and Ginny, they're our key contact people, and you probably all need to know who these people are. So maybe Penny, you quickly first.
Yes. Hello, I'm Penny Flint, and I've been organising the organisers. Pleased to meet you all, and thanks for coming.
Thanks. Maddie? Oh, you're on mute, Mad.
That'll help. Hi, I'm Maddie Machin, or Mad as a lot of people know me on the peninsula. I'm really looking forward to met some of you. Thank you so much for your efforts in volunteering to help us. I'm looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Yeah, welcome.
Thanks. Lisa?
Hi everyone, I'm Lisa. I'll be at the gathering for the duration of tomorrow. So if you have any questions that have to do with someone who perhaps can't do the walk and who wants to just meet up with everyone at the gathering, you can use myself, and Mad will be there as well. So use us as touch points for that.
And Ginny?
I'm just playing a small role, but yeah, happy to be supporting.
Thanks very much. Obviously, we haven't got time to go through everybody, but we do want to know who you all are. So can you, if you want to, just put your name in the chat and maybe just, if you want to, tell us where on the peninsula you're based, because it'd be great to hear who you all are. And while you're doing that, I will keep going. Okay, so just a quick outline of the walk. So as you all know, we're going to be starting from Safety Beach opposite Prescott Avenue. So you might be familiar with a little coffee cart, Cafe del Sol, that's located in that area. They're not involved in the walk and they've been warned about the walk, but that is a landmark and they will be there tomorrow, apparently. So that's where the walk's starting. We're starting off there at approximately 1 o'clock. We won't start walking on the dot of 1 because we've got some things we need to say at the start before everyone starts walking, but we're going to aim to try and get walking by probably about 20 past 1, no later than 20 past 1. But the start is an important part too. So if you're starting from the start, be there at 1 or earlier if you're on duty. And Penny will let you know if you need to be there earlier. The walk's then going to proceed down towards the Dramana Pier area, following the Bay Trail. We really need our volunteers, if you're involved in marshalling, to try and help keep the walk walking to the left. It's going to be a nice day, so we expect that the Bay Trail will be being used by a lot of other members of the public. So our job is going to be to try and make sure we're respectful of that and keep people off to the side and out of the way of shared path users. So we'll head to Dramana Pier. We've advertised that as a additional join-in point if people want a shorter walk from that area. There's going to be a table set up with some water and sunscreen and a QR code to register if people haven't registered at Dramana. And that's we hope that will be set up just past the pier, between sort of the pier car park and the Life Saving Club. That's what we're aiming for, but you know, give or take a few 100 meters depending on what we find tomorrow when we go to put the table there, but that's roughly where it will be. So past the pier, we want people to get past that car park before they start pausing. And then the walk will carry on along the Bay Trail, past through the tea tree, past all the boat sheds at Dramana Foreshore, and down towards Anthony's Nose, where we anticipate that we'll be roughly passing by there at about 2:30. Obviously, it depends how many people we've got and how long the walk is, how long the walk line is. We'll come back to these particular points in a bit more detail in a minute to talk about the detail of those join-in points. Then the walk's going to carry on. We've got another join-in point roughly around the Macrae Lighthouse area, possibly just before you get to that car park, because again, we're trying to keep people away from those busy areas if they're pausing and milling around. And then the walk will carry on to a gathering that's going to occur at Rosebud Village Green Soundshell. And we're aiming for the main event to be there between 4 and 5 p.m. So I guess one thing to say is we just really want as many of you as possible, regardless of which parts of the walk you're either helping out with or planning to walk. We really want as many people as possible to be at the end, at the gathering end. So even if you're just doing an early section or helping out earlier on in the walk, if you can plan to get down to the gathering at the end as well, that would be fantastic. Okay, this is a map. Ginny, did you want to talk us through this map at all? You got anything you want to say here?
Only just that I've marked out the toilets. There's quite a few along the way, and there's also taps. So even though we'll have water at the 2 stations at Dramana and Macrae, there's water taps to fill your bottles. And those circles, the light blue circles, are the joining points of the pier, the lighthouse. Is it the Rosebud Jetty? I can't remember what the last one is.
Yeah,
I'm thinking it could be useful for people to just take a screenshot of that while you've got that slide up too, Alison.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, look,
Garrett.
what we're aiming to do is to give each of our important volunteers a few resources, and a copy of this will be probably included in that. But if you've got the opportunity to take a screenshot of it now, by all means, save on paper. Okay. All right. So the start, I'm just going to walk us through each section. So I'm the person who's coordinating with Kayla Cartledge, the start of the walk. So we're going to have setup occurring at the start from 11:30 a.m. so that we can mark out the space that we need, that hopefully we can take over one of the picnic tables that we need to base ourselves from. Make sure that, you know, we've set up so that we're not encroaching too much upon Cafe del Sol. And I think Penny will talk to the volunteers a bit about this, but I think most of you, if you're helping at that end, we're asking people to get there at around about 12. Feel free to chip in, Pen, if you need to, about that.
No, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the walking volunteers, if they could be there at 12, that would be great.
All right. And you'll know if that's you, because that information, it will either has been sent to you or will be sent to you today to clarify what time we need you where. So the plan for the start is that we will have probably people will, you know, arrive at various times. We'll have a marked out area it's close to the playground, but we're going to try and keep people away from the playground. There's a grassy area that sort of goes down into a dip towards the beach, and that's roughly where we'll try and gather people. But we don't know how many people are going to be there at the start, so we may end up with people needing to be on the beach as well. We'll just see. Hopefully we've got lots of people. And then the plan is that as we're getting ready for the speaking that needs to happen there, we will play Paul Kelly's If Not Now When song to try and get people ready to get into the mood and the swing of it for the walk. And then Kayla Cartledge is one of the leaders of the local Yes campaign, Aboriginal woman. She will do a welcome to the walkers and thanks for coming. And then I'm going to do some housekeeping instructions. So give some instructions to the crowd about how we want them to conduct themselves along the walk and some things to watch out for and be aware of. We're then going to have 4 people reading out sections of the Uluru Statement from the Heart. So that's going to be, we've picked a mixture of people, and this has been organised in consultation with Kayla and Deb, because we thought this would be a really nice way to send people off into the walk. So we're hoping to have two young people, bit of a representative crew, I suppose, 2 young people, someone who's midlife, and then Kayla, Deb or Corinda, who's head of First Peoples Health and Wellbeing in Frankston. One of them will read the final section of the Uluru Statement from the Heart, which is the invitation to come and walk together. And then we will send everyone off on the walk, possibly while we play John Farnham's You're the Voice, just to keep everyone in the mood and, yeah, create a bit of a vibe around it all. So that's how the start will operate. Can I just pause for a second? Does anyone have any questions about the start? Perhaps put them in the chat, actually. That might be easiest. I might just stop sharing for a second and see if I can see the chat.
I might say before I said, that it'd be great if the walkers could arrive at 12. That is the walkers that are doing the whole walk. And I think I've talked to all of those people who've said to me that they want to do the whole walk, and I think everyone's okay with getting there at 12. But if you're not, just let us know, no problem, because we do have a lot of people there at 12 who are going to, be able to stand in the space and help out.
Maureen, I can see that's a good question. How do we contact the contacts if needed? So we're going to make sure that all of our volunteers have got a copy of all the key contacts of the key organiser people, so that you'll have the mobile phone numbers for myself, Penny, Maddie, Lisa and Virginia if you need them. So if anything comes up or you've got questions on the day, you can either find someone nearby who's one of the organising team, or just call or text any of us, okay? So you'll have those numbers. Okay. I've noted your comment there, Miffy. I might come back to that. Let's keep going with the presentation. Okay. Penny, do you want to, and Penny and Ginny, do you guys want to speak to this?
Oh, you're on mute, Pen.
There'll be a drink station at Dramana just after the pier, just before the Life Saving Club on the left. There'll be some water there and some sunscreen, and really only there for a top up. As Ginny said, there'll be lots of taps along the way. So it's really just in case people, haven't brought enough water and they need a bit of a top up.
Bit of moral support too.
That's right. Now, Erica and Nick have kindly volunteered to sit at that drink station. So thank you very much for that. And Phil and Mark are going to, set it up and then pack it up.
Thanks. And also just a reminder, if you happen to be at one of these join-in points, our plan is to have a QR code available on the table. So we just want to try and not insist that people or force anyone to register, because some people won't want to for whatever reason. But we do want you to encourage people to register. So if they're turning up and joining in, just remind them how they can do that. So there's a QR code on the table. We encourage people to register.
And I think if we just, as we're encouraging them, if we could just link that into the insurance provided by the S23 umbrella group as well, it sometimes just helps people see the point of registering.
Yeah, and it will also be helpful for us to be able to get a more accurate idea of numbers as well. But again, we can't just gently encourage, not forcing anyone. Okay, thanks, Penny. Now, this is missing my picture, this slide, but do you want to move on to talking about Anthony's Nose?
Yeah. So at Anthony's Nose, you'd probably all be familiar. It's in some parts just single file. In some parts, there's quite a drop off on the right hand side, and in some parts on the left hand side, it's a little bit close to the road. So we've walked that area, and we do need a lot of marshals sort of moving people through that area safely. And it's really about just watching out and just encouraging people to watch where they're going, and to also be mindful of people coming the other way, and for members of the public who will be there to just be careful of them. So there are a number of marshals who are going to have walked from the start of the walk, and they're going to walk up the front of the walk, and when they get to Anthony's Nose, we will move them into positions. We'll move you into positions to marshal, to assist people around Anthony's Nose. There'll be a coordinator of marshals at this area, Peter Cracknell, and he will be able to sort of organise you into the right position once we get there. But there's also 4 people who very kindly offered to just go directly to Anthony's Nose and to just marshal from there. So that's great. So we have 4 people going there directly. We have Pete coordinating, and then we have a number of walkers who I've asked to be up the front of the walk and to go into position to help people through Anthony's Nose. So the important thing is to tell people, yes, look where you're going, just to watch them don't fall off the side, and also to watch them in relation to the traffic in the public.
Thanks, Pen. And I'm pretty sure the next slide is Macrae. Do you want to talk about the Macrae location?
Yes, so there'll be a drink station at Macrae, just probably in front of the bus stop. And again, they'll just be very simple. Some water in case you need to fill up, and some sunscreen in case you need to apply some more sunscreen. Other than that, there's going to be about, I think we've got about 5 or 6 people. So there'll be 2 people on the drink station that I've allocated to the drink station, and there'll be about 5 or 6 people who are coming straight to Macrae, and we would like them to stand around the car park area and to just make sure that people are safe moving through from the toilets to the start of the path over the other side of the car park, because, you know, people could be backing out, there could be members of the public around. So it's not, you know, it's not as tricky an area as Anthony's Nose, but they're, you know, it's really to make sure that people are passing through there safely.
There's a question about safety vests, which we might get back to you about that, Erica. Thank you, Mick.
The other thing is we probably need a Macrae coordinator. So we've got an Anthony's Nose coordinator. We probably need to have somebody coordinating that. So I'll be in touch with the Macrae people during the day to give them more details, because some people are just going to be at Macrae from, I think we said 2 o'clock, didn't we, Al?
Yep.
I think we've got some Swan people here.
Okay, let's come back to that. Let's keep moving through it. Just put your questions in the chat if you've got them, and we'll make sure we answer them by the time we finish. So from there, we'll be making our way to the gathering at the end. So here I might throw to Maddie or Lisa to talk us through this section.
Thanks, Al. Lisa, are you happy for me to start?
Absolutely.
Okay, so at the gathering at the end, everyone comes from the pier. If during the walk, the group split from the pier, it's actually a little bit of a trail through to the gathering site, which is at the Sound Shell at Rosebud. So I think the marshals that are at the final points, such as Macrae, can maybe be chatting to people if they're stopping for a drink about once you get to Rosebud Pier, there's a little bit further to go. And it's a little bit windy to get out to the grassy oval at the Sound Shell. So once they get out there, it'll be really self-evident because we've got at 3:30 some musicians in the Sound Shell that'll be playing. Tim, I saw you're here. Thank you. I'll speak to you a little bit later just to check in with you. So we've got some fantastic music going to be happening at 3:30 in the Sound Shell. So it'll be evident of where to go. There'll be a marquee set up where we're going to have some tables with we'll have some volunteers at the Yes tables so that if there's public coming past and wanting to come across and talk, we can talk to them about the campaign and the referendum, just like we have been in door knocking and all of the other roles we've been doing. Then we've got Robin, who has kindly offered to organise the sausage sizzle and refreshments. So we've got a fantastic table area that's going to be set up, and there'll be 2 people there. As Robin said, put in the chat, come and say hello and get your free Yes sausage. There's vegetarian options as well, and we'll have refreshments. So everyone will make their way in and hopefully be eating a sausage and sitting down after a long walk and feeling a bit refreshed and starting to gather in a really large group in front of that Sound Shell. At 4 o'clock, the proceedings starts. So there will be a welcome and there will be a smoking ceremony down there. So it's going to be, that will be run by Kayla and Deb, her mum. There'll be other elders there. So those proceedings will start, and then following that is the really important bit, and I think you've probably seen the emails, it's been honed in. We just need to get as many people at this gathering because we're going to be making this human yes. So this is where I will be asking soon for 2 volunteers, potentially from earlier on, the marshals, or 2 people that haven't yet got a job to be helping. So there's a choreographer, Sally, who has volunteered to organise this human yes, and I believe she needs 100 people for each letter at least to get this yes going. And we've also got a photographer at the end, and we'll also have a drone getting a top photo of the yes. So really it's going to be all of us that are here today as volunteers encouraging a lot of people to stay between now and on the walk tomorrow, and along the walk to stay at the gathering tomorrow, so that we can really have as many people and show that support at the gathering and be involved in this yes. And these are the things that then we're hoping to, during the week, we'll continue working to get this into the media, hopefully in the local papers and on social media, and to show the support we're giving on the Mornington Peninsula. So we will need 2 volunteers to help Sally, the choreographer, with that yes, and we'll need a very large volunteer group to create the yes sign. Following the yes photo, we've got the yarning circle, which is going to be lovely. That'll be, again, will become self-evident where that is. So we're hoping everybody will have an opportunity to sit at that time. There will be some speakers. There's going to be a brief, there'll be, is it 3 OWL speakers? Yes, she's put 3 down here. There's 3 speakers who are talking why they're voting yes. And that is at the end of the yarning circle, and that will be the wrap up. As with any of these kind of large gatherings, and we're hoping it will be large, we will be needing, again, some volunteers just to help with that pack up and clean up stage at the end. Yeah, that's pretty much the gathering. Lisa, have you got anything that I've forgotten there?
No, that was terrific. Thanks, Mad.
I think just going back one step, which Pen and we can talk to, we kind of, as you know, this has been logistically like a large organisation, and we did think last night we probably do need a couple of marshals at the jetty end, because as you know, that Rosebud Jetty on a beautiful day, we've got a lot of people walking up and down there, and we're going to be walking through there. So we'll probably also get probably get a lead marshal down there at that jetty site, at that crossover point, if that makes sense to everyone who's listening.
Yeah, there's also a playground quite close too. So Penny will probably have a look at that because Penny's organising our volunteers. But if anyone on the chat thinks they could easily get from your earlier role, earlier on in the walk, down to help in that area, just let Penny know.
Oh, great, Deb. I've just seen Deb Fisher's message. Yeah, that's great. I think the thing is we need a lot of people around that Anthony's Nose area, and that once they've moved through, they're going to be at the back. So we will organise, we'll get some marshals for that Rosebud area, and to specifically tell you that, you know, that's your role. But I think we've got enough. Yeah.
And
Okay.
Pete's just asked about police presence.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Mad, are you anything else from you guys?
No, unless there's other questions. Deb, see, I just saw your message. Thank you. And Anne. So that's 2 volunteers there.
Okay, so I just realised there's a slide here that describes what you're thinking with the yes. Do you want to just, anything you want to say about that slide?
Choreographer Sally. No, I think I think I just covered that.
I suppose just also to be aware that there will be lots of photography going on. So if you're somebody that doesn't want to be in that photography, you'll just need to step out of that area at that time. But if you're there, then the plan is to try and take lots of photos of the people there. Okay, so just to be aware of that. And it might also be something to let the crowd know too, if you're there as a marshal, just to let people know that there's photos being taken, and if they prefer not to be in them, to just step away from where that's being done. All right, we'll keep going. What's next? Okay, volunteer safety and wellbeing. This is really important for us to talk about. I guess our motto with this event is safety first. So if in doubt, always just opt for whatever seems to be the safest option for any situation that you find yourselves in, even if it means opting out of your role altogether, okay? Your personal safety is our priority, but it's all of our responsibilities as well, okay? So first and foremost, we want to make sure that everybody has, although I've just said we're not forcing people to register, we really do want people to be registered for this walk. And as Lisa's alluded to, one of the main reasons is because it provides you with insurance. Okay, so it's really important, and we want our volunteers to have that coverage. So if you haven't registered, please register. And that's the reason why we want you primarily registered. But also, can you tell everyone else that you may have recruited for the walk to also register? Mad, did you want to say something? You've just gone off mute, I noticed. No? Okay. Yeah, so just spread the word, okay? Again, we're not forcing people to, but we are strongly encouraging people to and recommending it. So anyone that you know is coming along, please tell them to register. And Ginny, I noticed, has put the link to that in the chat a bit earlier. Maybe can you pop it in again, Ginny, just so it's down fresh? Our plan is we're going to email you some resources, which I'll tell you about in a minute, but it will include a map, a copy of the map, the contacts of the key organisers, and just an outline of the program that we've discussed today. We want you to have a hard copy on you of those resources, if possible. So if you can print out the copies of that before tomorrow, we haven't sent them out yet, but we'll send them out this afternoon. If you can print out your own copies of those documents, please do, and have them on you, possibly in a plastic snap-lock bag in case something happens strange with the weather and we end up with rain. It doesn't sound like we're going to, but that's what we'd like you to do. We will have copies also available to hand out, but we're encouraging you to try and be organised with that if you can yourself. Our preference is for people to work in pairs. So this is also just around staying safe and having some backup, or doing some problem solving together, shared decision making. obviously wear suitable clothing. Okay, so come dressed for the day. You may need to wear layers if you're there for a period of time. It's probably going to start off warm in the middle of the day and cool right off towards the end of the day. So make sure you're prepared for that. Obviously, comfy walking shoes, bring your own water bottle, sunscreen and hat. I know I'm probably telling you nothing that you haven't already thought of, but we just need to make sure people are thinking about this. Sunscreen, hat and sunnies. I guess importantly, we want you to come with a great attitude. So part of looking after your own well-being is, you know, coming with an intention of staying calm, not planning to engage. In fact, being very intentional about not engaging in any confrontation. We're not expecting that you'll have to be faced with that, but just in case. And we want you to call for backup if you need, okay? So if you need assistance with making decisions, or if something happens on the track or with a walker or with a member of the public, just call one of us and we will help you decide what the best response is. But if there's any kind of situation or emergency of any kind and you can't get onto us, or even if you can, really, you just call 000 like we would for any situation. If there's anything that, you know, there's a multitude of possibilities of what that could look like. So we don't want you to be left trying to manage a situation that you're not qualified or prepared to manage. So just call 000 if you need to. Or if it's just a decision, just call us and we'll help with the decision. So just to take that responsibility off our volunteers. There will be some volunteers zooming around a little bit, carefully zooming around from site to site, helping with setups and pack ups and pack downs and ferrying equipment around. So you know, if someone unexpectedly needed transport for something, we're not offering that to all of our walkers, but if you as a volunteer needed to shift from one spot to another and you find you haven't got a way of doing that, then we do have people that might be able to help get you from one spot to another if you need it, okay? Obviously plan how you're going to get home. I haven't got that on the list here, but make sure that you've thought about that too. So this is part of the instructions that we're giving to our walkers. But we also want you to make sure that you've thought about how you're getting home as well, because we haven't organised transport for people. We're relying on people to make those plans for themselves. So Penny and I, particularly Penny, have spoken to the police. They're very well aware of the event happening. They know that we've had some strong responses and that we're expecting quite a lot of people. Penny, do you want to mention anything in that regard?
Oh, yes, I've spoken to the senior sergeants at Rosebud and to a number of the constables, and I'm checking in with the senior sergeant who's on duty on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, and he's aware of the whole walk. And, you know, we've asked them, you know, if they can just drive along or bring a car just to show a bit of a presence, just to make sure everything's okay. And they've said that they will do that just depending on resources. So they're fully aware of the whole walk, and I've got their mobile numbers. But if there's anything, you know, if anything happens on the walk that is an emergency, that is something you would not ordinarily call 000 for, then you know, it's important to call 000, and then the Rosebud Police would respond. But they're aware of it, and we'll give them a further briefing at 10 o'clock, and then I'll be talking to them during the day.
Thanks, Pen. We've also engaged security. So security, we've got engaged from approximately 3 till 7, particularly to help us just keep a organised environment down at the Rosebud end of things. So we've got them in place as well. If someone's got a question about first aid kits, we've gone through the process of getting the permit from Mornington Peninsula Shire, and that first aid issue came up in discussion around us getting the permits. We had looked in at getting St John's Ambulance presence, but it was felt that wasn't needed for people just walking along the Bay Trail. So we're asking people to take responsibility for their own health and well-being, but if there is an emergency, as Penny said, then we will just deal with it as we would need to in any usual way.
Can I jump in there, Al?
Yep.
Yeah, so we were reassured by our contacts at council that we were completely fine to, as everything Alison's just outlined. Can I add though that if you do know of someone who's made a 000 call, please do let us know as well after. You know, so when there's time to please let the one of the event organisers know, so that we can make sure that that there's, you know, an appropriate response supporting the situation. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to start moving on, but if you've got any queries about volunteer safety and wellbeing, can you please put them in the chat as well? You can either do it direct to one of us or do it to the whole group, whichever you prefer, but we want to make sure that you feel like we've thought of what you think we need to be thinking about too.
We'll also sorry, can I just say, we'll also make sure that there's, you know, organisers up the front and down the back, you know, that there are people either side of the walk.
Yeah, sorry, I probably should have mentioned that. So we're just on that. Thanks, Penny. We've got a lead cyclist who's going to, well, actually, even if I go back another step, before the walk starts, we've got a setup crew who are going to be putting up some A-frame signage at various points, not continuously along the track, but at some key points, particularly around the joining points, just to notify the public that there's an event coming, to be aware that there's an event in progress between such and such a time frame. We've also got Lisa's partner, Matt, is going to ride up ahead of the walk and notify people on the path that there's a walk coming. So we're trying to do as much as we can to be respectful and courteous to other shared path users. And as Penny said, we've also got some lead walkers who are planned to be at the front of the walk. And then we'll probably have a couple of us at the back as well, just to be at the tail end. So that's the plan in that regard. As I mentioned, we're going to make sure that you guys have all got contacts that you can call if you need to. If you're working in a pair, perhaps consider sharing each other's mobile phone number if you feel comfortable to do so. Again, it's just a suggestion. And then for anything that's, you know, outside of the realm of just being easily dealt with, just call 000 if you need to. We're fully supportive of you doing that, as Lisa said, and let us know if that happens. We're also going to make sure everyone's in a high-vis vest, so it's clear who are the marshals on the walk. And we've got several people who have offered to lend us high-vis vests. Various people have got bundles of 5 or 10 high-vis vests. What we do want to do is make sure that we get them all back at the end, and that the people who have lent them to us get their high-vis vests back again. So we'll probably have, if you're not going to end up at the end, hopefully you will be, but if you can't, just make sure that your high-vis vest gets passed back to one of the organisers. You could do that at the join-in table if you need to. It's probably a logical point to do that. Otherwise, there'll be a spot at the end where you can return your high-vis vests, and we'll sort out getting them back. We're hoping that people who are lending us high-vis vests, if you happen to be one of those people, that you'll put your initials on the inside of them somewhere. So that will just make it easy for us to make sure that you get your high-vis vests back. Okay. The other thing we wanted to highlight too is that this walk is being organised under the auspices of the Yes campaign, and we really want to make sure that we're conducting ourselves in line with the code of conduct of the Yes campaign. So if you're not sure what that is, I wonder whether actually, Ginny, maybe if you could Google that and put the link to that in the chat so people can have a look at it. That's really important. And there's a few key things around that. So I guess, I mean, in a nutshell, what we want to do is we want to be walking in solidarity with First Nations leadership, with respect. We want it to be a positive event. We want it to be safe, okay? And really focusing on demonstrating support, not engaging in negativity, just really encouraging, if there is any negativity, and we hope that there isn't, but there could be. But if there is, just don't engage. We want to stay focused on what we're there for, which is to show positive support for a really important move that our country is attempting to make. Okay, so it's all about being in solidarity, staying positive, looking after each other, and staying safe. This is pretty much the same thing, actually. So I might just skip over that one. We wanted to just go back to thinking about the walk along the way and just touch on some key points along the way, areas to be cautious of, and just reiterating those join-in points. So, Penny, did you want to say anything here about these areas to be cautious of along the way? You might have already said it. But...
Yeah, I think I probably already talked about it, but what I haven't talked about are the times for join-in points. So you'll see that we've suggested that, well, we've given the joining points for who's coming on the walk, but then if you're a volunteer at those joining points and that's where you're coming directly, then of course we need you there a bit earlier. So from the start, of course, the walk starts at 1, but for people who are going to volunteer from the start, we would like them there at 12 if possible, please. And then at the Dramana Peel, well, I'll talk to Nick and Erica about when they can get there, but we'd like you there obviously before 2 o'clock when we've said the crowd should start moving through. Anthony's Nose, we expect the crowd to start moving through at 2:30. So we think that we will need, Anthony's Nose volunteers there by 2 o'clock. And then Macrae Lighthouse, people are going to start moving through, we think, at 3. So then we would need the volunteers there by 2 or 3 o'clock.
So we're just going to do a little bit more thinking about those specifics after we finish running the volunteer briefing. So we'll be able to probably give you, if you haven't already been given a specific time of where to be when, you will get that shortly after the briefing, okay? But in particular, I think probably in terms of the treacherous part of the track, in terms of the track itself, is probably Anthony's Nose. So that's where we've got quite a lot of volunteers there, haven't we, Pen? But we just want you guys as marshals and volunteer walkers, we want you to just be aware of that area and just help people navigate that carefully. And we may have to be particularly careful about making sure that we're making space for shared path users as well. Okay, that's pretty much the same information. So I will skip over that. We're at the end. Okay. Are there any questions? I'll stop sharing. Maureen, did you have one?
Oh yeah, I popped a couple of questions in the chat. One was just about banners, carrying banners and posters. And the other one was, if somebody asks us about wheelchair access along the way. And the third one was whether the media have been invited.
Okay. Banners and posters, we've got lots of call flutes that will be, there'll be call flutes at all of the join-in points, we think, definitely at the start, that people can carry if they want to. There's a banner that's been organised, but we encourage people to bring signs if you want to, and if you've got anything you want to carry that's appropriately in support of the yes, the vote for the referendum. Sorry, I'm losing my words at the moment. I'm a bit brain fried. Yeah, so don't bring anything that's about anything else, but bring, if it's in support of the Voice to Parliament, then sure, something positive and encouraging. Yeah, that would be great.
Do you want me to
as long as it's in line with that code of conduct that we've just mentioned as well. Sorry, Ginny.
Do you want me to field the wheelchair question? Just, yeah, so if you're familiar with the Bay Trail, it's compacted granitic sand. I would say Macrae onwards is probably the best section if there are people with wheels, because the Anthony's Nose section really isn't wide enough for most wheelchairs. So yeah, if people are interested in joining, I'd suggest they join at Macrae and do that last section. And there are accessible toilets. Sorry, Penny.
Just on the banners too, we've got, Alison might have already said this, but we've got numerous T-shirts they're in my car at the moment. Lots of white t-shirts for everyone to wear. So as well as banners, you know, if you've got your t-shirts, I assume most of the volunteers have got t-shirts, wear your Yes stuff. We'll have extra Yes stuff. We've got the paw flutes as well if you want to hold them. And I know we can think up creative ways to try and hold them so that, you know, we're not walking like that the whole time.
You could also walk,
got-
carry a core flute between one joining point and another, and you could leave it at the joining point, the next spot, if you wanted to. Sorry, Maureen.
I've got 5 or 6 Yes posters on sticks that were made at Will and Moraine. Yes 23, the you know, the brand Yes 23. So I'll have those at the lighthouse.
Great.
And
Wonderful.
Christian.
Right.
Yep, that's great. And then there was a question about the media. Does anyone else from the organising group want to field that one?
I'll do that, Al.
Thanks, Mad.
So we have had some local media a number of weeks ago be involved, and they're ready to go again. So unfortunately they can't send a photographer down, but we've organised photographers for the start and during the walk. So again, as I can't remember if it was Pen or Al mentioned, you know, if there will be photography going on during the walk. So also there is another photographer for the gathering at the end. And yeah, unfortunately, local media won't send a photographer as it's a Sunday. However, they're going to use our photos. I'll be sending those in. We'll be doing, there is a drone as well that's been organised to do the Yes, and there'll be a lot of social media following. That'll be our job following this. But other than that, any major media, no, we haven't got any other major media organised, Maureen.
Well, I was just thinking that drone footage could go to try and get it on the news. Like the major channels.
Yeah, we might have a think about that perhaps this afternoon. But if anyone else has got any contacts in that regard, also let us know. Okay. Thanks, though. Good question. We do want to get as much exposure as possible and help people come out of the closet to vote yes.
We can try and get a press release out between us and see how we go.
Sorry, I just wanted to add one last thing. I think we're going to have trouble battling with, because there's major walks going on in all of the major cities tomorrow. So Melbourne, there's a lot going on. So I think those, yeah, we'd be lucky to get some of the television down here, given they'll probably all be up in Melbourne. But yeah, it'd be great. We'll see how we go. Thanks.
But we sit in a blue seat, so we could make some use of that.
Yeah.
Particularly with Zoe McKenzie. I think, you know, I mean, we could do it respectfully, but we could play with that a bit as a headline.
If someone has got time to reach out to the major networks, that would be great. I mean, I think the 4 or 5 of us have got our hands full just getting this walk off the ground tomorrow. But if anyone else would like to do that, that would be greatly appreciated. But let us know if you're going to do that, and let the Yes campaign people know too.
I was about to say, please don't do that without speaking to the steering group.
Yeah. Sorry, Miffy. Yeah. Did you want to say anything about media?
No, not about media.
Okay. Oh, you've got your hand up. Okay.
Yes, I do.
no,
but that's for something else. It wasn't to answer any of that question.
Can I actually touch base? Miv and I are tag teaming here. In terms of media, the best approach for us in terms of media is actually to create a press release with photographs post the event so that it can go into the local papers. The chances of getting any sort of coverage beyond that, given that there's major events happening in all of the cities around Australia, we're just not going to get that sort of leverage.
And the other thing is that we're also doing a banner today, which will be at the end for people to sign.
Fantastic.
A big black banner with a big yellow yes and red Posca pens and black Posca pens and yellow Posca pens, and everybody can just pop a little message on it.
Oh, that's great.
wonderful.
Thank you.
That's right. It's something for people to do while they're waiting for everybody else to show up.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks very much.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Lynn's put in. Hi, Lynn. I just realised it was you. Lynn's put a question in about lifts, and it's a really good question. We haven't, we had these grand ideas of having, of getting some buses, extra buses, or community buses or things going, and it just proved too difficult. So there is public buses, regular public buses going up and down. We have left it up to the walking community to find their own way. However, this is a grassroots campaign and we are all grassroots people. I'm sure there will be lifts going on and people can join in, but we don't have anything formally organised in terms of ride shares.
That potentially opens a bit of a Pandora's box for safety too, obviously, if it's
Yeah,
by the organisers. So yeah.
that's right. But if you know people who are likely to need a lift, yeah, I guess we just encourage them to try and buddy up with someone else and maybe plan it together. It's a good question. Is there anything about music that I saw that there's a comment in there, Deb, about music? Any music logistics we need to talk about, Mad?
No, I will. Sorry, it says there. Oh, yes, definitely, Deb. I'll be talking to Tim later and Paul. So we'll be doing that later this afternoon. I'll be in touch. But if anyone else is, I'll be doing that privately, and if anyone else has got any questions about music here, but there'll definitely be music between 3:30 and 4 at the Sound Shell.
Just one other thing I wanted to say, we've got quite a few people who are donating their time and talents. And we are trying to keep track of our expenses as an event, and as a small part of the bigger organising committee of the Yes campaign on the Mornington Peninsula. So this probably won't be relevant, but if there's an expense that comes up for you that you end up needing to pay for, if you can A, keep a receipt, and B, make sure you let us know and send it to us, and we'll make sure that the people that are managing the finances of the Yes campaign are made aware of that. That's not an invitation to start spending money on the campaign's budget at all. Please don't do that, and perhaps don't spend money unless you've checked it with one of the organising group as well. Because if you haven't and you've gone and spent money on something, we can't promise a reimbursement because there's limited budget around this. What else? Oh, if you know of someone who's donating their time and talent, what would be helpful is to have an indication of an approximate estimate of what that would normally cost if we were paying them to do it as well. So we're keeping track of that too. Does that sound right, Miffy and Deb?
Yes, it is. And Deb's got something else as well.
I'll just lower my hand. So Miff and I were talking, because for those who don't know me, I've just come back from being away for 5 weeks. So you're doing an amazing job, and well done to everyone, particularly the organisers. It's extraordinary what you've done. But at the end of the walk, as Miff said, we're doing a banner this afternoon where people can sign it and write messages of support, etc. But there was also the talk of people arriving and wanting to hold them in that space whilst others catch up. So we just thought that we might throw it out to particularly families where they can come up with a creative and resourceful way of writing yes. So whether it's in the sand, etc., and then either capturing it photographically and then perhaps sharing it on our social media. So just another thought.
Thanks, Miffy. Maybe one thing we haven't touched on is the pack up cleanup at the end. Lisa and Maddie might have mentioned this. Sorry, yeah, as I said, my brain's a bit full at the moment. But just to reiterate that if you're able to help with the pack up and clean up at the end, that would be great. We know not everyone will be able to, but we've got to make sure we leave the village green the way we've found it. So if you're planning on being able to help even like hopefully there won't be too much rubbish, but we will be needing to do a cleanup. So maybe if you can bring a pair of gloves, we'll have some rubbish bags and rubbish bins available, and just make sure that, you know, before everyone runs away, we've just got to make sure it's all packed up really well.
Thanks, Al. And I think just on that note, with the gathering at the end, just in case you're wondering with that pack up, and whilst it is a space where it is a public space and where some people might even stay on and picnic later, we're also very conscious that this has real meaning and purpose, this walk. So it will have a finishing time. We're not just going on and on. It is we have set aside between 4 and 5. So once that welcome and smoking ceremony, and then the proceedings with the human yes, following that, we will be finishing. It is up to other people whether they stay on, but that will be the pack up time. And that, you know, unless of course things do sometimes, you know, with that timing, there might be a bit of flexibility, but once we do finish, it'll be a pack up time. You won't be required, if you are volunteering to pack up, to stay. If there are other people spending time picnicking later, we won't be required to stay on late. So we would be thinking, you know, 5:30, 6 o'clock at the latest.
Thanks, Mad. I'm not sure if we mentioned this either, but when we get to the end, there's only going to be limited seating. Okay, so just be aware of that. If you're somebody that needs a seat to sit on, then think about maybe dropping one off or having one in your car. Obviously, we're not expecting people to carry a chair on the walk, but just be mindful that there'll only be limited seating, and we're going to prioritise the seating towards elders and older walkers, or people who really need to not be sitting on the ground. You could put in a plastic bag or something, or maybe something a bit more sustainable to sit on in case the ground is damp, but just have a think about having something to sit on stuffed in your pocket or in your backpack or in your car.
For the yarning circle, we'll have some mats that Kayla's bringing, and to add to that, because it looks like hopefully we're going to have a whole lot of bums. So we'll bring some picnic rugs. So if you bring a picnic rug, that would be fantastic, because then you've brought enough for a few bums to share. So picnic rugs would be much appreciated. Thank you.
But we know you're not going to want to carry one. So if you are going to bring one, think about how you want to drop it at the end, at the gathering. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. Of course. And there'll be people at the gathering who'll keep an eye on anything that is left there. There'll be expensive sound equipment that's been lent to us from Moth and all sorts of things. So there will be people whose sole job is to stand there for 3 hours watching stuff. So you can leave it in your car, but if you've had to park a mile away, which I guess is possible, then there'll be people there looking after things. Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Lisa. Probably not, don't leave anything valuable there though either, because that's probably a bit beyond our remit, but anything like rugs and seats, that's fine. Are there any other questions? Okay. If you think of anything, thanks for all the thanks and encouragement in the chat. We really appreciate that. And look, we just hope it's a great day. That's our aim. So we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Ginny, were you going to say something?
Penny has replied to a question about if we get separated at Anthony's Nose, will we regroup? I think we'll probably, if we need to do that, we'll probably end up doing it at Macrae at the next meeting point, if anything. Otherwise, we'll just keep asking people to keep moving through. Would that be right, Penny?
Yeah, so the idea is that those Anthony's Nose marshals that have been walking from the start, you know, they'll be up the front as we hit Anthony's Nose, and then we'll put you into position so you can help the walk go through. And then it would be great if, of course, once the walk is through, then everyone walks, the marshals are at the back. So whereas the Anthony's Nose helpers that are doing the whole walk were at the front before Anthony's Nose, they will then be at the back. Okay, that's the idea.
But we won't stop at the end of Anthony's Nose and wait for everyone. We'll just keep
keep moving. Yeah, that's right. So as soon as the walk is through, then keep walking. That's right.
Okay.
And we will have, I mean, we'll notify you who the back walkers are because they are probably going to switch around Dramana. So it will initially be Alison will be the back walker from the start to Dramana, and then we're going to switch. We just haven't spoken to the people that we were going to put at the back, so we'll wait till we've confirmed that with them.
Also, this might be just an assumption I made, but just to reiterate so that everyone knows, we've booked the sound shell in the village green, and we have a Mornington Peninsula Shire for this walk to go ahead permit. So just to give you that reassurance that we've got permission for this event to be running. And that's important that everyone knows that too. We're not just running it kind of on the side of any of that.
Can I just also, sorry, Pen, did you want to go first?
You go, Mad.
Can I just also get a show of hands of a couple of people that might be available? We're not expecting a huge cleanup, but that might be available to help at the very end. Oh, great. Excellent. Oh, thank you. That's most people. Fantastic. Thank you.
Sorry, can I just ask, I don't think I've actually got a specific job yet. So someone's going to contact me this afternoon with that.
Penny, do you want to answer that one?
Absolutely. And I do have you down as doing something specifically, but yes, I will. I'll be in contact after this meeting. Then I'll make sure you know exactly. Okay.
Great.
I'll make sure everybody knows exactly. And just honestly, if you don't, email me, message me, direct message me. I'm watching all of them. Okay. So you will know, where to go, who your coordinator is, how you're going to get your high vis. Don't worry. We know you need to know that.
Penny, do you want to just put your email in the chat if you're happy to? Just remind people
just done
how to
that
get in
for
touch.
us.
Oh, good.
Okay, so I mean, I think everyone roughly knows where they are going to be. So remember that if you're walking the whole way, if you can be there at 12 and stay till 5. If you're coming into Anthony's Nose directly, then I've said 2 p.m. if you can please be in situ. And then Dramana drink station, I'll talk to Nick and Erica about that directly. Macrae Lighthouse, well, I've said 2:30 p.m. if you can please be there by 2:30. Someone will be there with the high vis and all the gear. So you won't just be turning up with no one being there. We'll have someone there to hand out the gear and coordinate, okay?
Anything else you're wondering about that we haven't touched on? I guess I'd say that we've tried to plan it as much as we can. We've got a run plan for the start and a run plan for the end, but we're also staying flexible and things might not go quite to plan. And that's part of how we want to run this walk too, so that we're creating space for any changes that need to be made on the day. So don't be surprised if there's a slight change there won't be a change in the schedule of the walk and all of the joining points and where you guys need to be, but just maybe the order of events at the start or the end. They're penciled in, but if we need to shift or change things around, we'll do that as we need to. All right, well, I think we've probably kept you long enough. And I can see some people have to leave anyway, but look, just a really big thanks to all of you, and we really appreciate your support and look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.